recording. Good morning, everyone. Once again, this is our final session for the team cybersecurity. We started off last week with the first session, and then we moved on to the second one on Tuesday. The third one was yesterday, Monday, and today will be the final session for the team cybersecurity. I hope over the past couple of days you learned something from your peers. Those who attended via Zoom or via Facebook, you heard what they've said and you picked up one or two points. And also those who heard the presentation from the audio recording and those who watched the recording or video on our Facebook group or in our Facebook. Sorry, people, there was a technical issue and the network went off, and we're back online again. So apologies for the issue with the internet. So going back to what I said earlier, this is our fourth and final session for the theme cybersecurity. So without further delay, I will now ask Ms. Elias Cecilia to share with us the answer to the assigned question.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. If show. Okay. I will be our assigned question, and our assigned question is: what are the principles of cybersecurity according to Zeng? So starting from last week, we've learned a lot on cybersecurity, and of course, the council and security and the CNF, and not much consideration is given to protecting the cyberspace of nations. And when we talk about cyberspace in all countries, that said that is for all and the cyberspace, it requires the cooperation from the international community. In doing so, Zeng outlines four should take into consideration in order to reduce the risk with identity in the work of Zeng is maintaining of referring to however in this case this that affects the sociality and the lives of people to justify committing this. Sovereignty is that affairs within its territory. State has within trees. So sovereignty of a nation extends to its land by other nation states. Recently, most countries are facing the invasion. Then is cyberspace is country by land, sea, and sky, and these are all considered as violation of. The third principle is building better cyber borders. So cyber borders refers to the frontier or a field of cyber borders to two border structures of the country, kinds of network equipment located graphical territory. The second are the domain names of a country and the fourth principle is the new civil war to defend the defense is exposed to cyber. USA and defense for instance, is taking the lead in also security forces and command. Integrated and in cyber freedom calls for cyber sovereignty, build cyber and cyber sovereignty by the states. So, and this is in order to be implemented by states. So, understanding this principle implemented by states in order to cyber warfare.
Two terms. This is my own definition of what I think the phishing and spam methodologies are. The phishing is a type of social engineering attack often used to steal user data, including login creditors and credit card numbers, often as a trusted entity, luring or attempt the victim into opening an email, instant message, or text messages. Okay, the spam definition. Spam is usually a common commercial message such as emails, text messages, or internet postings, commonly used to market junk out of the millions of recipients without the request. Okay, according to Genova, Leon, Exin, and Roberts, this is what their perspective or explanation towards phishing and spam methodology. Okay, they explained that the both spam and phishing are related to social engineering, which is a general term for any activity which an attack is trying to manipulate you into revealing personal information. And spam typically is sent for commercial purposes or a tactic of marketing goods and services. Though not as dangerous as phishing, yet still annoying due to being sent in bulk without recipient's request. However, not a virus. Some spam emails or messages may include phishing or malware that can harm or attempt to gain access to your computer devices. Common examples would include pre-chain forward, comptions, donations, unwanted newsletters, and so forth. Unsuspecting readers would click on the link or open an email attachment and end up being the victim to this. Whereas phishing attacks are fraudulently communication or a form of deceptions that appear to come from a reputable source such as computer or organizations with goal or tricking the recipients into giving away sensitive data or install malware into the form of spyware on the victim's system. It is usually combined with threat or request of information like that an account will close, a balance is due or information is due for an account. An attack can have devastating results for individuals. This includes unauthorized purchases, stealing of funds, or identifying thief. For an organization, it would lead to severe financial losses in addition to declining reputation and customers' trust. Most businesses have a difficult time recovering from this type of attack. Okay, a most recent and perfect example of an attack like this would be the phishing of millions by ransom hackers on our country payment system or integrated financial management system. That was, it happened last October as acknowledged by our Papua New Guinea Department of Finance. Okay, now into answering the question, according to Genovel, Leon, Exin, and Roberts, the spam methodology are proposed evolutionary and adaptable spam detection and filtration method through machine learning and classification. Spam detection fall into two categories, rule-based and statistical-based. The rule-based where user-defined rules, keywords, filtering or blacklist or recognize spammers. These were built manually, so it was difficult to keep them up with the variety of spams. Statistical based detection is more flexible, dynamic, and easy to adopt the ever-changing techniques of spammers. While the phishing methodology is also a machine learning to build multiple classifiers detection, and it attracts useful features from the prepared AKS and hyperlinks or the data sets, and then feeding them to the set algorithm to identify. This accuracy depends on these features. The error features, the IBA features, and complete features. Phishing is considered as a classification problem. Therefore, it requires a classification algorithm and feature set of classification problem. And thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Tekla, for representing Group 4, and also thank you, Cecilia, for representing Group 6. Sorry about the technical issue. My internet is not working well, but now it seems to be back to normal. We also thank Tekla, not sorry, Tekla, but Naomi and Sylvia for joining us in this session. We hope you'll continue to join us in the future next week onwards to listen to what our Air Force have to share with us. Now we move on to Mr. Manoa. Stephen, please share with us your answer on behalf of Group 5.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Well, welcome. I'd like to welcome you all to my presentation. I'm going to represent the group 5, and those of you watching on Facebook too, thank you for your time. With group 5, we were given a question, task to identify different forms of cyber warfare, and specifically according to Zhang. So the presentation, first we're going to define some of the basic terms that we have to understand and help us put us into perspective so that whatever I represent my group in present, we're going to understand. And then followed by identifying different types of cyber warfare. So in identifying the types of cyber warfare, we're going to find out about what that type of warfare is, methodologies used in executing that warfare, and what are some of the examples that are happening around the globe. So the article that we based our discussion on is based on a book entitled China and Cybersecurity, specifically chapter 5. And the editor of the chapter is Yi Jiang, a Chinese guy, I think. So first of all, cyber warfare, I know that most of us have understand that term, but for the sake of some of us, we don't understand. I'm going to define the term here. So cyber warfare, according to RAND Corporation, it involves the action by non-state or international organization to attack and attempt to damage another nation's computer or information network through, like, for example, computer virus or denial of service attacks. So throughout the reading, we came across and we identified that there are 2 different types of cyber warfare. One is known as offensive cyber warfare, and the other one is known as defensive cyber warfare. So defensive cyber warfare refers to cyber operation or activities that brings destruction. It destructs the company reputation or anything. As long as it brings destruction, it categorizes as offensive cyber warfare. And defensive cyber warfare is cyber operation or activities that promote protection, or like in the light of cybersecurity, promotes the protection of the organization or individual. Yeah. So as according to the article, under these 2 categories, we found out that there are 5 different forms of cyber warfare. Out of 5, 4 of them are offensive and 1 of them is defensive. So the defensive one is cyber defense or cyber defense warfare, and the offensive one is cyber intelligence, cyber paralysis, cyber and electronic integration, and cyber physiology. So we're gonna go through and find out what are these forms of cyber warfare. So first to the cyber intelligence warfare. Cyber intelligence warfare is basically obtaining the information without the consent of the owner, like owner of the information. So it's basically stealing the information. So the methods that they use to steal information, they use viruses or Trojan horse, some hacking software and other tools to steal valuable information of individual organization or country. A classic example of this, I'll just give one example. It's an incident happened in 2016 when the social security number and personal information of US naval officers, more than 10,000 of them, and Marine Corps were leaked to the internet because someone hacked and they stole the information. So it's a cyber intelligence warfare that happened there, and more than 10,000 times downloads and viewing of the of those information by the general public, which posed panic to the panic to the U.S. Marine officers and naval officers. So that's one of the examples that I can save it as. And to the next type of cyber warfare, cyber paralysis warfare. Cyber paralysis warfare is a warfare that seeks to target Achilles heel. That simply means the network portals and the key nodes of the network. So when in targeting this one, it paralyzed the activity or the internet and the system itself. So the method that they commonly use is they use a bonnet to attack the network portal. A network portal refers to entry points into the internet that can be like website. So yeah, one good example is a website, and keynotes through swarm tactics, or they also known as distributed denial of service. So like that cyber paralysis warfare, it's kind of like it denies the basic services that are provided by the organization or the country to the people through internet. So when the hackers attack the internet or that organization, it sort of like deny the basic service that they provided to the people. So a good example happened on August 8, 2008, when Russia launched that cyber paralysis attack on Georgia's network, while the Russian troops were crossing the Georgian border. So the attack paralyzed the network of Georgian television, financial, and transportation system. So like Georgian government operation were all in chaos, and like airport logistics and communication networks were all collapsed. In a way, it clouds the eye of Georgian government to detect the Russian troops crossing the borders. So that's the example of cyber paralysis warfare. Okay, moving on to cyber and electronic integration warfare. Cyber and electronic integration warfare refer to the wars against enemies' network system using various means, including energy suppression of signal, attack on network components, and information deception. So like in the past, when there's no introduction of wireless networking, there's limited transmission and it doesn't work out really well. But since the introduction of wireless networking, it breaks the limit and give more opportunity to people who wanted to pursue the cyber and electronic integration method. So what they basically do is they jam the internet signal, and they get what they want to get. So a good example here is it happened on 2007 on September 6th, when the Israeli Air Force successfully invaded Syrian airspace and bombed intended target. So what happened is that the Israeli Air Force first attacked the radar station of Syrian along Tal al-Abyad, that's near Turkish border. So which lead to the collapse of Syrian radar system to detect any unauthorized aircraft coming into its sovereign boundaries. So when the radar is damaged by that attack, 18 jet fighters of Israeli flew across the border. At a low altitude, they went to the targeted location, they bombed it, and they flew back to the Israeli airspace. So that's how, or that's an example of how the cyber and electronic integration warfare that Israeli used on Syrian government. Okay, to the cyber psychology warfare. So in here, cyber psychology warfare is the psychology game that runs in cyberspace. And it's also known as psychological politics. So it is the extension and development of the traditional psychology warfare in cyberspace. So it's mainly used to cause panic also causing public support and opinion. So you're gonna go for or against and also cause the mistrust. So like first, it usually used to happen within the scope of military only, but as times evolved, it extended to the public domains to reach civilians too. So like what usually happen is like the method used is the publication of sensitive information into internet or media or social platform, which mostly in most cases gone viral over the internet. So in a way it affects how people think. So like cyber psychology, cyber is internet and psychology is talking about mind, how people think. So in a way, the publication of sensitive information to the public, it causes public to come up with their opinion. Some go for it, some go against, and sometimes it causes public to mistrust the organization or mistrust the government or the party that the media talks about or the publication talks about. So one example that I wanted to share with us is it's local. The one-day recent trip of one-day state visit, PNG state visit to Indonesia, which cost 5 million, just one day, but cost 5 million. Like in publishing the information out to media, like they should have just put something general, but when stating something like the 5 million kina worth of travel to Indonesia just for one day, it caused public to stir up their opinions. Why is this happening? And sometimes like it caused them to question the government. So, well, that's how cyber psychology warfare come into play. And that's the four that I talked earlier are the offensive. And to the defensive cyber warfare, defensive cyber warfare is all about protecting the information infrastructure and system and preventing cyber attacks to attack any organization or people or state. So it's basically providing the cyber security. So the basic method used is to establish a defense system to evaluate safety levels, monitor and send out early warnings of cyber attack, conduct defensive invasion, and perform self-recovery under any emergency case. So one of the examples that I can share with you guys is a cyber storm exercise. It's carried out in United States by United States Army. That exercise first started in 2006, the second one in 2008, and the third one is in 2010. So in 2006 and 8, the US government has network security and emergency response capabilities. And in 2010, they pushed forward by allowing the citizens and other organizations, like it's a participatory activity where the citizens and organizations within the country, in a way, they try to hack the US Army cyber infrastructure or their capabilities. So they try to test the coordination and response capabilities whether to see they can sustain the cyber attacks from other nation or state or organization. So this cyber storm exercise is one of the good example that I can share with you guys about how cyber defense warfare or mechanism came into play to protect, to provide cyber security. So basically, these are the 5 different types or forms of warfare according to Chang in his in the book that I've mentioned earlier. So out of 5, there are 4 offensive, sorry. There are 4 offensive, and the other one is, the last one is defensive. So that brings us to end of my presentation, and I hope you guys learned something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manoa. Thank you, Rufai, for sharing with us your very comprehensive answer, and I also like your use of examples, very clear, and you helped us to understand what you presented. I also like to thank Tekla as well as Cecilia for sharing with us your answers. We now move on to Crystal. Crystal Alex will be presenting on behalf of Group 1. Crystal, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, good day, everyone. I'll be answering question number 1 on behalf of the Group 1. The question given to us reads, what are some common human source techniques used by China according to INSTA? So firstly, a human source is defined as a person who has been deliberately recruited and is managed to collect information to satisfy and intelligence requirements. For our case is, for our case is China. As reported in the New York Times, China has been recruiting and contacting its citizens abroad, including government officials, to get highly classified materials. There are some key elements for an intelligence agency in recruiting human sources. First one is deliberately recruited. The agency has to make a conscious decision to utilize this person as a human source. Manage, the person is managed, suggesting control and having a systematic approach to what takes place. And collect information. Their job is to get information. The information they provide will be processed into intelligence and will be used to gain evidence or to gain knowledge of other companies and governments, and to satisfy an intelligence requirement. The agency manages human sources to help them satisfy their intelligence requirements. So through the Ministry of State Security, the MSS, China has apparently obtained massive amounts of data through a number of sources. A number of serious breaches in systems of Western governments and companies. China's communist regime has been enforcing Chinese intelligence service and has been using its human sources outside China to initiate operations to steal highly intelligent secrets from countries like the US, Russia, and other nations in the region. To answer the question, some of the human source techniques used by China according to INSTA are the recruitment of spies, in which Chinese government has been using large amount of money to get people working for them to lower intel. China uses intelligent agents who masquerade as students and workers to a foreign country, studying in universities and working in government organizations, pretending to be normal citizens. Like an example stated in the article, the MSS office in 2008 recruited and used a person from an ethnic group called Uyghur to report on activities on Uyghur population in Sweden. The other technique is establishing network espionage. creating Chinese espionage in other states, as Inska stated, like the Chinese spy networks in Munich, which was run by an MSS officer in 2009, and also in 2014, a Taiwan's Army Director of Telecommunications and Electronic Information was recruited in Bangkok to establish spy network. The other most common technique is the honey trap technique. China's operations against foreign targets using honey trap technique is one of the Chinese espionage weapons, which most government officials had fell for. This honey trap technique uses beautiful Chinese female spy as bait to infiltrate the political world through political fundraising, sexual bribery, blackmailing, and having affairs with political figures to lure the politicians into extracting information. These operational human source techniques are covert and deceptive, and they spread well beyond China's borders. And as the source put it, Chinese President Xi Jinping's highlighted objective is for China to emerge as a cyber superpower. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Very interesting presentation. I hope some of you can also find your way to our intelligence organization. Unfortunately, we don't have direct recruitment. Mainly they recruit people who are either ex-police officers or ex-military officers. So I hope in the future the National Intelligence Organization will develop a graduate recruitment program and will select some of you to join the intelligence organization. We will now move on to the final presenter for this period. I believe it's Mr. Ansgar Sapundimi. Ansgar will be representing Group 7. Either Ansgar or Annabella. So please, Group 7, go ahead.
Mic test. Hello. Testing. Okay, nice one. Sorry. Okay. For us, the last group, final group 7. Our task is to find out about what network warfare is according to Paul Peter. So let's go back to where it all began. Network warfare. Okay. The term network warfare or network-centric warfare was first coined by Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral J. Johnson in 1997, and later popularized by the late Admiral Arthur K. Zebrowski when he headed the Pentagon's Office of Force Transformation in the United States. Okay, that's the person or the people who come up with the concept or the idea of network warfare. Okay, the definition of network warfare. Now, network warfare involves translating an information advantage categorized by a shift in focus from platforms to networks, information sharing, and set situational awareness into a warfighting advantage characterized by knowledge of commander's intent, self-synchronization, and increased combat power. Network-centric warfare or network warfare is intended to enable a shift from attrition-style warfare to a much faster and more effective warfighting style, characterized by speed of command. A resulting increase in the speed of command is intended to foreclose enemy courses of action and disrupt the enemy strategy. Okay, the network-centric warfare. It was, as I've said earlier, it was the concept of US military. So now we see that, obviously, now we see that China is also trying to catch up with the United States. So China came up with the idea of building their network as well. So the PLA, the People's Liberation Army of China. So they also come up with ideas and they also try to build theirs, and they did. So why China also make the decision to compete against United States in terms of cyber warfare or network warfare? Why they came up with this? It's because they also wanted to develop a informationized military. This is because to cater for their modernized military system. So as stated in this article by Paul Peter, and I quote, the PLA's drive to develop into a informationized force began in early 1990s and was a response to the revolution in military affairs and the performance of US military in Operation Desert Storm. The superiority of air power from US and precision-guided munitions and highly technology-state debate, and also highly state debate within the PLA on its ability to fight and win modern wars in terms of both technology and operational doctrine. I mean, they are comparing themselves with US and they're also trying to catch up with the United States. So it was also in the year 2000, the PLA or People's Liberation Army issued a Chinese term, Gengyao. That's the term they use it. Gengyao means command automation system. So command automation system are defined by PLA or Chinese Liberation Army. It is a military information system that possesses command and control intelligence and reconnaissance. So early warning signs, early warnings and surveillances, communication, electronic countermeasures, and other operational and information support capabilities with computers, with the usage of, through computers as the core. So where do they get this concept from? The concept of building a military, the network warfare. The concept or the idea of building network warfare or network-centric warfare was taken from the US military. So as I've looked through the article, how they get the concept or how they access the idea of they also come up with how they get the idea of producing or implementing this network-centric or network warfare. We don't know, but yeah. From the article, there's no evidence, but who knows? In other articles, they may have produced some of how they get this information to build their network warfare. So, yeah, according to the article, it is stated that at the PLA or Chinese People's Liberation Army, in this regard, has largely been guided by the US concept of network-centric warfare. So meaning they get the information on how to build their network warfare through the United States. So my question is, like, I think did they get a consent from the United States to build their network warfare, or they just did it on their own by using certain means such as using what Stephen has said about those 4 types of cybersecurity, or the offensive and defensive methods they may have used to get information and build their network warfare strategies. So yeah, that is the end of our presentation, my group and I. Thank you, class, and those people watch from Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sakundumi and Group 7, for being the last presenter and for concluding the session on the theme cybersecurity. I hope by listening to all the presenters this week and last week, you've noticed or learned that countries like China and the US, they are more advanced in their cyber capabilities, including middle powers like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Japan, India. They are well advanced and well ahead of countries like PNG. We are classified as a minor power in the Asia region, and our cyber security system is, or defense system is no match to what the advanced powers are experiencing or using at the moment. So we have a lot of catching up to do. So it goes back to our government and our policies. We have to put in place the right policies and develop experts in the area of cybersecurity in order to counter what these major powers are doing. So once again, I thank all the representatives who have presented today, Ansgar, Crystal, Cecilia, Tekla, and Stephen. Thank you for presenting, and also thanking us, especially Sylvia and Naomi, for joining us. And we thank those who on Facebook who have also tuned in and watched presentation on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. And like going back to our talk survey, if you have any comments or questions for our presenters, please make sure you post on the assigned forum for this week. And we have some questions here, some comments here from audience. Mr. Ragin has a comment that he has made in relation to the Ani threat, yeah, the Chinese method of collecting intelligence using beautiful Chinese ladies. And Sylvia as well made a comment in relation to what Stephen has said. She said a clear and insightful presentation. She liked the example of how the media is exercising its role as a watchdog in the way they frame stories. So it goes back to the current, case that is going on between China and Australia and the US. An example in relation to what Stephen has shared with us is the leak of the security pact document between China and Solomon Islands. A member of the parliament got screenshots or photos of the security agreement between China and Solomon Islands when it was still in the draft stage, and then uploaded it onto Twitter and Facebook and social media. So analysts and intelligence people all over the region who are monitoring cyberspace and the different social media channels picked up the agreement, and quickly they advised the government that Solomon Islands was trying to sign the security pact with China to allow Chinese police and military and intelligence people to go train the Solomon Islands military intelligence and police. So it was a interesting case that is connected to what Stephen shared with us. So Australia used the media to frame that, okay, China is truly a security threat. If they can do that to Solomon Islands, then they can do that to any other country in the region and increase the influence in order to benefit or maximize their own interest. So that's something connected to what Stephen has shared with us. So please take note of the comment made by Mr. Ragin. Okay, so we will stop here. Once again, I apologize for the network issue. Earlier on, the staff network was playing up and my bandwidth was low, and then it came back on, so I was able to. I disappeared for a time and then I came back to reappeared again. So sorry for disappearing. And before we go, Naomi has a comment. She said, "Thank you all presenters. I really enjoyed the session. Hoping to share and learn more in the many more Zoom sessions to come." Yes, to Naomi and Sylvia, we will be talking about terrorism. Terrorism is the next topic for discussion, or the next theme for our Zoom presentation or Zoom seminar presentations. That's next week and beyond. So please feel free to join us for the next Zoom session on terrorism. Okay, with that, we'll stop there. Sorry for taking up your time. It's 11:30. I'll stop here. So you have 1 hour to comment on Moodle. Thank you very much again. You all have a blessed day.